Okay. All right. So welcome to this week's Creative Boss Method workshop and webinar. We are presenting today on Instagram and getting your Instagram marketing strategy really set up and streamlined. And I am super excited about this one. I don't know about you, Crystal.
Yes, I think Instagram is our bread and butter. It is something we enjoy using on a frequent basis. So thanks for joining us. I am Crystal. I am the owner and content director at Crystal Clear Photography.
And I'm Kayla Butler, the founder and owner of IvoryMix.com.
And together we both bring you the Creative Boss Method. So to stop, because this is about social media, we have to encourage you guys to, take a screenshot. You take a picture of yourself watching this and share it on social media. Make sure to tag Kayla and I so that we can also reshare it with our audience. And don't forget to tag hashtag Creative Boss Method and let us know what you're learning, how you're working on things, and how we have helped you, hopefully, and being a little bit more intentional in your business.
Yep, absolutely.
So today's webinar topic, all things Instagram.
I love Instagram.
I do too. So we'll start with some Instagram basics. We're going to go through account setup, having a business account versus a personal account, bio and highlights, and identifying your audience. We're just going to kind of start with some of those foundational pieces. First. Do you want to start? Do you want me to go into?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, which was it? Were you going to go or was
I'm not sure. I am not sure. Well, I can just, start with, I think, the basics between account setup. So when you're going to set up your Instagram account, ideally we try to all find a account name that is as similar or as close to our business as possible. Luckily, there's many different ways that you can do that. Like I know, for instance, like Kayla uses the underscore icon to put the underscore Ivory Mix. So you're going through and trying to find something that is branded to your business is just going to help so that when people are searching, they're like, oh, what was that again? Was it Crystal Clear or something? It pulls up right away so that they can find you if they're trying to search for you on social media. So starting with the handle, making sure that you have chosen a name that's very similar to your business, if not exactly your business name, to just make that a little bit easier for people to be able to follow you and find you over there.
Yeah, and I want to add that you can use keywords for your business here as well, because oftentimes if someone's looking for a specific service, a business coach or a therapist or any kind of thing, people do actually search on Instagram. So if you have a keyword that's very specific and synonymous with your business, don't be afraid to put it in your account. Maybe not your handle, like out at the Ivory Mix. I wouldn't put a keyword in there, but I would put it in your name description of your account. So you can kind of see on this screenshot over here to the left. Yeah, right here. Instead of, my full name, I might put styled stock photos. If someone's searching for stock photos, my account would come up.
Yep, absolutely. And so I think actually mine is somewhat like that. I have like Crystal because I want people to still know my name, but then I say product photographer or, something to that extent so that when people are searching, they're able to locate and find me really quickly. So if for some reason they can't find me by the handle, they can find me by one of those keywords when they are searching to look and find me. So next thing is, having a business account versus a personal account. There's a lot of advantages to having a business account versus a personal account. First off, you're here for business, but there are the perks of, Instagram being able to identify you as a business, you getting an opportunity to do insights, fun stories and things, a lot of features that don't come on your personal account that help you be able to target and see what's responsive to your audience. And Kayla, did you have anything that you wanted to add on that part?
I think that one of the questions are going to come up, what's the difference between a creator account and a business account? Because Instagram has just added the creator account type, which is mostly for influencers. You can use it as a business, but you will lose some of the business aspects like the, I believe some of the contact options are gone when you go to a creator type account. But if you are in business, have services, have products that people purchase, I would go towards the business account versus the creator account.
Yep. And then going into bio and highlights, your bio. So if you caught, if you caught workshop number 1, where we talked about branding and defining your mission, we briefly mentioned that if you have your mission defined and you kind of create almost this transition statement or elevator speech, or all the different names that it goes by, but basically a statement that really defines very well what you do and what you're wanting to do in your business. You could take that and you can actually put it into the bio, but the bio gives you an opportunity to highlight on keywords and the different things that your audience is going to see immediately that's going to show them, are they in the right place for what they're looking for or who they're looking for. So for me, I know mine says product and photography and branding, and it also talks about courses and stuff. So, I'm very clear and very concise and to the point with mine. And you can see in Kayla's example, she's the same way. She put stock photos and marketing, and she's got those key points present. So in your bio, you can do something very similar. So you can either choose to have that transition statement, or maybe you decide to bullet point because maybe, it's about skincare and body butters and, growing your Etsy shop. Or something to that extent. So the bio really gives you an opportunity to just very clearly define what people can find and see from you, and when they're following you in your account, essentially.
Yeah, because let's be honest, how Instagram works is either they've come to your Instagram profile because they already know you, or they've stumbled across your content because someone's shared it somewhere, or because they've found it through a hashtag search or whatever. And so if they've stumbled across your content because of a hashtag or because of, geolocation or whatever, they're going to click on that content, view the content, and then probably click through to your profile to see if you're someone, if they really like that content, they want to see if you're creating more of that type of content. So that bio is really what's going to seal the deal for them in whether they follow you or whether they click through to your link, which is, I think, the other part of the bio is if you expanded more on my particular bio, you would see that I have a call to action that says, click here for 500 free stock photos. So that gives people the direction of what to do to take action to immediately get a benefit from my business. But hopefully that is the funnel that people go through. They find me through a hashtag, they click on an image, and then they click through to my profile, see what I'm about, and they're like, oh yeah, I really want this, and click on it, So that's really how you get the bio to work for you, and how you can see how people actually interact with it and why it's so important.
Yep, absolutely. And so highlights are kind of another one of those feature points that you can have as you go through and you start doing stories and things more often. Your stories are generally geared towards trying to provide the content to that audience that they're wanting to see. So having highlights and taking a moment to identify what those highlights are gives the person an opportunity to scroll through and see, okay, I've stumbled across Kayla's profile. I see that she's got an About Me page. Let's go check out here and see what she's all about and what she posts and who she is. And then going into things about her work, and then seeing her behind the scenes gives credibility to her photography, and different pieces like that you can do for your business. Just kind of, again, give the person an opportunity to see, like, am I in the right place? Is this the kind of content that I need and I want to see and be a part of? So that when they click to follow, or they decide to click the link and go check out some other things you have to offer, it's just kind of one more touch point that you get to have and feature on Instagram, which is really cool.
It's another place that you can send your followers to as well. So a lot of times we send our followers and the people who are there listening to us on our stories or whatever to our links. And sometimes if you've created a resource within your highlights that you want to send people to that gives them the full story or explanation of the thing you're trying to explain, then we can use that as a call to action as well. So highlights can be used for those various different reasons.
Yep. It's a great call to action or place to kind of store things that you're working on. So if you have like a course that you've launched or a product or specials and things like that are pretty continual, or you want to talk about the ingredients that you put in your product, things like that. So we can go on and on and on about the different things you can put in highlights. So maybe going through and identifying a couple of key things that you think would be really interesting that set your business apart, and then using the highlights to kind of showcase that. Identifying your audience is the last piece. I'll let Kayla talk a little bit about this one. She looks like she's glowing over there about it.
I love this topic. Oh my gosh. I could go on for days. Ultimately, you as a business owner should know who you're talking to. We've talked a bit about in past workshops about how to identify your audience for your brand and how to create a transformation statement or a mission statement around your brand's mission. But identifying your audience on Instagram is really no different. And I think that what you want to do is know who you're talking to and know what they're interested in, and start creating content that really bridges the gap between what they're interested in, what they're there for, and who you are and what you have to offer. Because ultimately, when we're on Instagram, we are not there to do anything more than feed the social part of our brain. That's it. We're there to be social. It's an emotional experience. We're not there to make logical decisions. We're there for entertainment purposes. So if you approach Instagram from that train of thought, you're instantly going to start thinking of what entertains my audience and what bridges the gap between what I have to offer and why they're on Instagram. So, for instance, if your audience is really into like interior design and making like a nice home and cozy space, and you are a candle maker or something along those lines, you might create content that inspires them to create more of a cozy experience. But for entertainment purposes, you might start creating content that is more behind the scenes of how you make the candles and things like that. So really diving into who your audience is and what they're really interested in can really feed your content and feed the type of content that you're creating and give you lots of ideas. And so when it comes to identifying your audience, you're going to want to think about, are they female, are they male, what are their ages, where do they shop, what entertains them, and what kinds of things are they on Instagram doing? Are they looking for inspirational quotes? Are they looking for, tips and tricks related to being a mom or, those kinds of things? And how can you really help those people, but also like bring them in towards your product and your service and bridge the gap? Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. And I think that it's a good opportunity to say again that, like with the first workshop, when we were helping you guys define the brand, we were talking about identifying your ideal audience and polling them and, all of those key things there and all of those actionable steps that we gave you to walk away with. The reason we started there was so that when you get to here and it came to identifying your audience, just like Kayla was saying, now what they like, where they shop, what they expect, the kinds of things that are entertaining to them, all of those key things that you can then put into, focusing on serving them and building that audience here on this particular platform.
Yep.
So, next up, we have establishing your feed aesthetics, personality, and graphics, which I feel like are some of the things that people are always just jonesing to want to figure out and establish and have, a pretty perfect, feed. So let's talk a little bit about how you can establish your feed aesthetics and then kind of identify the personality and the pieces that you can add to your social media. I think Kayla does a really good job of that. I try to branch out a little bit myself by adding my face in there every once in a while, but I think gone are the days when your feed was extremely perfect, and now it's more about like she was just saying, entertaining your audience, engaging with them, finding things that are going to be interesting. It's no longer just about everything being pretty and perfectly laid out. So while that's a piece of it, that's not the whole pie.
No. So there are people out there who are just aesthetically driven. I think a lot of us are visually stimulated. So when things are visually pleasing, when everything's in a row, or when everything's the same color, it's immediately, it gives us an immediate boost of endorphins and, you know, dopamine. It feels good to look at, you know what I mean? So when things feel good to look at, you immediately want to continue looking at them, but people will not come back consistently just to look at your feed all the time. It needs to be stimulating for other reasons that keep them coming back for more. It's entertaining, or it feeds some portion of their brain that's like, I need more of this all the time, whatever that is, inspiration, motivation, tips and tricks, those kinds of things. And so when it comes to the personality of your Instagram, it's important to understand what your audience is really there for. And I keep talking about that, but it really does feed into why you might want to create certain things versus creating other things. Because, and I don't want to, I can go off onto tangents, and Crystal knows this. But if I am, you know, if I'm being really honest, we have 3 different areas of our brain, and the area of our brain that goes to Instagram and scrolls Instagram is the limbic side of the brain, which basically is the part of the brain that looks for social interaction and looks for, you know, just entertainment, and, you know, that's it. We're not making logical decisions. So if we're just focusing on that entertainment piece of it, it really helps us develop the graphics and the personality around our content much easier than if we were just being strategic about it aesthetically or visually. You know what I mean? So if we're only ever focused on creating graphics because it's visually appealing, then we're not going to reach our goals and reach our audience.
Absolutely. It looks like you have a little visitor.
Let's pause it for a second.
So, so I think that's perfect. I think it's just, you know, a reminder that you can have a blend of all of the things. You can go for some things that are aesthetically pleasing, that you like to see, that are visually, you know, beautiful. You can now, though, add in, you know, some of the fun things with the different graphics, and, you know, quote cards are a huge thing too, because sometimes they just spark interest and conversation, and sometimes people see their favorite quotes and they want to, you know, elaborate on it. So feel free to get a little bit more creative with what your feed is now, as opposed to just trying to make sure that everything looks perfect in this little 9 grid all the time. Focusing a little bit more on, you know, how can my audience engage with me? What are they interested in seeing? And adding some personality. You know, to be honest, I absolutely hate having my face in my Instagram, but here we are. And there's my face. So, you know, but people respond well to seeing me just being me. And that's usually because I'm making goofy faces most of the time. So I kind of decided that that's just something that's going to have to be there. My face is going to have to be incorporated, because for whatever reason, people respond really well to seeing me, you know, seeing what I have to say, whatever joke it is that I'm talking about, or, you know, something I'm talking about that relates to the funny face that I'm making, and they want to engage with that. They're there for that. So even when you sometimes feel like you're not sure if that's something that you know, want to put out there, if people are responding really well to it, you could be really missing out on an opportunity to actually build your audience and really start having people pay attention to your content more.
Right. Yep.
So here are, I think, we've got a couple of examples of some pretty feeds. Ooh, I like.
Yeah, so I mean, these are just different feeds that I personally follow for various different reasons, but they give good examples of what can be achieved on Instagram, as well as what might be the thoughts behind it. So I'm going to start over on the right-hand side. This clearly is, what is it? Outfit of the day? Outfit?
Yeah, OOTD.
OOTD. This is clearly a outfit of the day account, but the reason why I put this on here is because, and I'm sure you found it, there are so many accounts out there that post the same type of photo or image or graphic every single day. And there is a reason strategically for that. It's not only is it easy for her, this particular person, to create this photo the same way every single day, her audience responds very well to it and it achieves whatever goal she has. So she continues to do it. And I'm sure that as she's continued to do it, her audience and engagement has grown as a result, because that consistency shows her audience that this is what you can expect from me, and if you like it, follow me, right? So by adding that bit of consistency to your efforts, you can really attract the right, ready to engage audience. And then the one right next to it, this is Canva. This is Canva's account. They go for a rainbow effect. So if you go to their account, they have multiple days where they focus on pink, and then they just go up the rainbow, red, orange, yellow, and they just do that. And it helps them focus their content on a visual strategy, but then also gives them a roadmap for how to create content. So they know for the next 10 days, they're going to be creating content that has a red theme to it. I think it's a really fun way to introduce their product and their service to their audience and show their audience how their product or service can be used, but then also makes it visually stimulating to scroll through the feed. So there's really multiple touch points for them in why they've created the content the way that they've created it. And then, you know, I'm not sure if you all are aware of KonMari, but, you know, this is what is it? Tidying up, or
Marie Kondo.
Of tidying up. Yeah, Marie Kondo.
Yeah.
So she clearly has a way about her, and there is a method that she goes through, and you can really feel that when you look at her content. So it's about organized, tidy spaces, but then, you know, she interjects her own personality and photos into that feed. And then the one on the very left-hand side is New Darlings. This is just like a blog that has a very beautiful aesthetic. I love the earth tones going through it, but you can see how each one has just kind of a pleasing aesthetic to it, right? But you can see that they all clearly have different strategies, and each one is a successful account, you know? So there's no right or wrong way to do it. What is important is to match your aesthetics with your brand, and to match what you're posting with your goals, and to listen to what your audience responds to and do more of that.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to say, when I look at like Marie Kondo's, she wants to give off a sense of calm and organization, because if you guys have ever seen her series on Netflix, which I know was like a huge thing, everyone wanted to have the Marie Kondo their house. Yeah. And it was about being clean and organized and having a good, space to be able to, meditate and focus on your body and what your emotions are telling you. So you can look at her feed and you can see those things. You can see the organization and the detail and the calm and like all of those things that she's trying to radiate with her brand. And then with New Darlings, I love theirs as well, with those earth tones and stuff. But it's what I liked about theirs, and what I can point out to what I was saying a moment ago, was that each of their photos is very, very different, but you see the same color scheme throughout everything. So even if you're posting different photos, it's maybe more about just keeping some similar tones and some similar colors throughout the photos that you're posting can also help tie it together so that it is still very aesthetically pleasing, but it's a little bit different. So you kind of find what works for you.
Yep. Yeah.
I like it. Okay, so let's get some traction. Let's talk a little bit about captions. We'll start with, headline to deadline, using emojis, having a call to action, using your brand personality, being informative but helpful, and don't forget you're talking to a person.
Yep.
So.
That sums it up. Done.
Right? Done. Any other tips, Kate?
No, so I've put in here headline to deadline because that really like sums the whole thing up. So when you create a caption for your Instagram posts, the goal is what? What is the goal? You need to know what it is that you want from your post. Sometimes you might get a little lost in writing something, but if you approach your captions with a specific goal in mind, that ends up being how you will structure your caption. And if you compare that to writing an email or writing a blog post, you have a headline and then you have a call to action, or in this case, what I'm calling a deadline. Mm-hmm. So your subject for your email might be your headline, or your headline for your blog post would be your headline. Put something very clear and clickable at the very top of your Instagram caption. Because as you know, when you scroll through the feed, you see a little snippet of the caption, but not the whole thing. So it's that first sentence that's really going to grab people, generate curiosity, is bold, is clear and to the point. So really create a headline that gets people clicking and opening to read more, right? So that's the headline. And then the deadline is, what do you want people to do? What's the call to action? Leave a comment, go to your stories, go to your highlights, click on your link, save the post, share the post, tag a friend. There's literally like so many things that you could do, but that's how you're going to structure your captions, is headline to deadline. Okay. And then, of course, I've given this example to the left. I've used emojis, and that just kind of makes things fun and also creates a soft break, gives people a pause, lets them go, okay, this is what I'm doing. You know what I mean? Like it's not just read, I'm bored. It's, read, think, read, think, you know what I mean? So the emojis really help give a little breathing space and a little like fun to the caption.
Yeah, it's like a little punch of personality. It's like, ooh, look at, there's the fire icon. Right. What's she talking about?
so yeah, use your brand's personality. So if, you could pick a couple of go-to emojis that you constantly use, or anytime you create a caption and you create a list, always use, a specific emoji to create your list. Add, your little bit of brand personality and your brand voice. And then, of course, always try to be helpful, add information. People don't always read captions because they want to learn something. They don't always read captions because they want to, get your best tips and tricks. They're just, like I said, entertaining themselves. So if you want to add some punchy jokes with your tips, or if you want to just tell a short story that really is relatable to them, that's okay too. Just know that there is a rhyme and a reason for what you're doing, and that you've got sort of a thought process behind why you're writing what you're writing and what you want them to do next. And I think we summed it up just as well as we can.
Yeah. I think that's why we said don't forget you're talking to a person, because at the end of the day, like you said, you're there to entertain that person and get them intrigued, keep them interested. So don't forget that you're talking to the person, and talk to them like a person.
So yeah, use all those things that you would use in your email newsletters and in your blog posts. Just write like a human.
Yep. And so continuing on with Get Some Traction, we're going to talk a little bit about hashtags. I feel like everyone's always got like 1,000 questions about hashtags, and there are many different ways of doing it, but to start, we'll just kind of focus a little bit on some things that we have found successful for both of us.
Yes.
And so the first bit is doing your research. You do actually have to research. If you are randomly trying to hashtag things that are not relevant, Instagram actually has it now where they can actually flag things that are not relevant to a hashtag, which can hurt. So making sure that you are also researching to pick the right kind of hashtags just benefits you in terms of getting in front of the right kind of people and hoping that that person's going to see something that you've posted that you have to offer and be like, oh, yes, I like that. I want to know more about those kinds of things. And then directing them over to your profile so that they can then go through everything else that you've put together on your profile. But to get them there, you've got to use hashtags to sometimes extend your reach and get out there a little bit further. So take an opportunity to kind of research the hashtags that are working really well for certain topics that you're talking about. So for instance, if you're talking about skincare, hashtag skincare, hashtag fighting dry skin, different things like that are going to be relative to what you're posting and switching them up. I go through and I do the research just so I have a good set of hashtags that I know are relevant, and I refresh it periodically so that I can keep up with things that I have available to pull from, so I can add them to that particular post to try to get my post out there a little bit more, and hopefully it'll go viral.
Right. I think that it's important to note that when you are using hashtags and you have a business account, you can go to your insights on that particular post and see how many views or how many people reached your post through hashtags. So if you just open up one of your recent posts, you can click on View Insights and see, maybe you got 100 people to come through hashtags. That means on the Explore, someone found you through a hashtag. That's important to note, that if you get a lot on one post versus another, there's probably something in your hashtags, a really good hashtag to use on that particular post. So maybe that set of hashtags would be good to use going forward on similar content.
Yep, and I even go through and go as far as organizing by categories. So I use an app called HishHash, and it's HISHHASH. And you can actually just create categories on there where you can go through, research different hashtags that are relevant to the type of content that you're going to be posting in your business. And you can go through and even break them into segments. So you can say, these are going to be ones that are focused around being a mom boss. So if I'm talking about, business and just, motherhood and just all those things are going on, I can grab hashtags from that category. And then you can go through and break down a category about, stock photography or, interiors or, whatever your categories are going to be. You can actually break those into categories on HishHash and upload those hashtags there so you can save them, and then you can auto-generate. Pay attention to your insights, like Kayla was saying, see which ones are performing or what kinds of things seem like they're working, and then drop off hashtags that seem like you're not getting as much traction with if you're using them, and then just make sure to go through and refresh. Another great tip to help with your traction is making sure to tag your images too. So if there are certain things like hashtag Creative Boss Method, adding those things on there for your posts and cross-promoting and tagging your images will also help further extend your reach, which is what we're all trying to do with those hashtags.
Yeah. And when it comes to hashtags, a lot of what I do is I really mix the hashtags by 3 different weights. One, I do so you can have 30 hashtags on a post, right? So I have 3 groups, 10, 10, 10. 10 would be really high performing hashtags. So that means when you go on to Instagram and you type in Happy Monday, it's got 12 million posts. That's a high performing hashtag. It gets used a lot and it's very popular. So I try to use very popular hashtags for about 10 of the hashtags, and then the next 10 I use medium popular, which would be under 1 million used, and then smaller hashtags, things that are above probably 100,000 but lower than maybe 500,000. So I try to give a good mix of hashtags so that I'm really reaching across the board. Those very popular hashtags, my posts probably aren't going to stay at the top of search for very long because they're posted to very frequently, but I might get since they're posted too frequently, they're probably seen frequently, right? So I might want to just hit on some of those very popular hashtags. But I don't want to really weigh down all my hashtags with those super popular ones. So I try to mix it up.
Absolutely. So going on to our next favorite part of Instagram is talking about stories. So some of the key things with stories, being yourself, showing up consistently, and then going ahead and having a plan for how you use your stories can help benefit your business a lot. Video right now is converting really, really well. So those movement pieces or pieces where you get in there and you can talk a little bit in your stories is a really good way to reach your audience or even reach more people beyond your own audience as well. And I know Kayla uses her stories quite a bit like I do. I would say pretty regularly.
All the time. I'm doing it now.
Every day. Pretty sure we posted one earlier. No. Yeah, so it just, for me, it was just about getting in there and being you. And I feel like that's what people kind of have come to expect in stories, is that this is like the raw moment of you just being who you are at that point. I don't think you have to be perfect. You don't have to have your hair and makeup done to get, in front of your stories and be talking about something that you're doing or something that you have to offer or showing off some behind the scenes. There's been many a times when my hair's on a bun in my head and I look like a mess, and I'm just showing you guys some behind the scenes of me in the studio, and you guys love that so much more than the times that I'm perfectly curated. So your stories really give you a chance to actually show your personality and the pieces that make your business and you so unique. But going through and having a plan for it, it can also be very beneficial to how you grow your audience or attract their attention to different things that you have to offer. And I think Kayla does that really well with the membership that she has.
Yeah. So I love using stories for all different things, but the strategy really that I go for is just whatever is easiest for me at the time. If I haven't pre-scheduled stories, I'm just going to do my stories on the fly, not worry about doing videos. If I can only do text, if I can only do images, I just do whatever feels right for me, knowing that my audience is just there to be entertained and sort of have a few minutes on their hands. So I'm going to give them a few minutes worth of content to kind of run through that, helps them out, hopefully. And when I'm promoting my membership, or when I'm promoting a blog post, or when I'm, getting people to take action on my stories, I really have a rhyme and a reason for what I do. So I kind of build up sort of headline to deadline, just like I do on my posts. I do that in my stories. I don't just throw out a graphic and say swipe up or go to my profile and go to the link. I really build up to it. So if someone's going to click, it's a story, a person who's really engaged in my story. If they're really going to click, they're really going to click. They're not just going to watch one or two stories and then move on. They're probably actually engaged. So I'm going to throw in maybe 3 stories that leads them up to what I want them to click on, right? So it's really, there is a thought process to it.
Absolutely. So, and you can develop strategy just for both of those options. So, a lot of times we feel like, okay, we can only have a strategy for how our feed looks aesthetically. But having a little bit of a strategy or an idea of what you're posting throughout the week will help you do the same thing. Like maybe you can go through and identify some different categories of things you can talk about. Like why do hashtag Motivation Monday became a thing? Because people were trying to find things to post, and they wanted to be motivated. It's a Monday. Nobody wants to do anything on a Monday. So everyone started deciding to do hashtag Motivation Monday or, Motivation Monday quotes and things. So you're maybe going through and kind of identifying, what types of things you want to post and kind of use it just as a guideline, so that if you feel like you're hitting a roadblock and you're like, oh, I should probably get into my stories and talk about something, but I'm not sure, have a list of things that you can go through and talk about. And that way it's not always something that's perfectly curated, but just like I said, showing up is half the battle. So showing up and just talking to people, relating to them, talking to them about, the goofy things that are going on. There's been times when I've posted videos and my kids are climbing on my head and, I got 10, 15 comments afterwards of people going, oh my God, my kids do the same thing to me, or,
Yeah.
you know, whatever the case may be. So sometimes identifying some of those things will help you bridge the gap, but most of the time it's just showing up and being you and talking to people like you're talking to people.
Yeah. And here's my best tip for stories. If you're going to do like a video type of story where it's you talking, try to caption it a little bit. I mean, most people who watch stories are doing it in public around other people or in the bathroom. I'm not kidding. This is a statistic.
Or in bed. You're like,
we're in bed. Like
through.
there's so many statistics. You can Google it. I am not lying. But the truth is if you really want people to engage and watch your stories, no matter where they are, and you have sound to your stories, they're probably going to skip through it. So captioning your stories, allowing them to actually engage and read what your story is saying instead of having to listen to it, will get you more engagement. So just even if you don't have full captions, just kind of like briefly caption whatever you're talking about, because stories are only 15 seconds, right? So every 15 seconds, if you need to just sort of minimally caption your videos, that's probably my best tip for getting more engagement on those.
Didn't they recently put out an option now where you can actually have like a little caption bar?
I have no idea. They come out with some new things I haven't played with, but they may have.
They have. I think that they might have come out with something similar to that. But anyway, they are getting, you know, easier. Instagram is trying to catch on to stuff like that. So the captions, or, you know, sometimes even just little emojis that are relative to just add a little bit of something to the or to the video. I always find also helps get a little bit more attention to what it is that you're trying to say in your videos.
Yeah.
So, but you know, there is a little bit of strategy, you know, to it. There is the opportunity to also decide what you want Instagram to do for you and for your business. So identifying maybe your goals for it will help you then decide, okay, what kinds of things am I posting? What kind of account do I want to have? Because there are different types of accounts out there. There are accounts that are literally just like a bookmark. They don't post very often, if at all. They're just there to bookmark in case someone happens to be searching and stumbles across their profile. There are people who are trying to, you know, build more traffic to their website. They're trying to maybe sell a product or an offer in a more genuine way, or they're trying to focus on building their list and their audience. So there's many different ways that you can look at how you want Instagram to benefit you, and decide, you know, I guess the personality and the categories and things around that can be entertaining, but also can show people that you have something that they want to have.
Right. Because a lot of times we have this pressure to feel like Instagram is supposed to be one thing for all of us, and it doesn't need to be. You could use Instagram to sell and make tons of money through, but that takes a very in-depth strategy, knowing that people are there to be social. You need to understand how to socially get people to convert into a buying mood. So, you know, you've got to engage your audience a specific way. But if it feels less daunting and feels more authentic to just be, to have Instagram be a behind the scenes for your business and a place for people to really get to know you, like you, and trust you, then that would benefit your business and actually feel a little easier on you and less pressure if you know that you can make your sales through Pinterest, for instance, or whatever. So I think you can definitely utilize Instagram for each one of these: traffic to your website, selling your product, or building your audience. It's just knowing which content is going to do each one of those things. Because every day, if you're trying to get people to go to your website, that's a specific type of content. And so you've got to really like build that content and find out if your audience is resonating with that type of content. So you're going to have to do a lot of trial and error and A and B testing and things like that. Yeah.
That gets real into the marketing brain of things.
Yes.
Which, we're not going to dive too much into all of that stuff, but I will say, from one business owner to another, work smarter, not harder. And, deciding to batch. So, if you are going with a more aggressive approach and you want to build it and you're trying to get more people and more traffic to that website and you want to use it as your main tool for marketing your business or trying to sell a product or service, then, consider things like, batching your content. You can batch your content in general, even if you're not trying to sell somebody on something directly. I know for a fact, like I have scheduled blogs and things that I'm doing or that I have scheduled out that I'm going to do throughout the month. And so around those blogs, I'll decide to create certain graphics and tips and things like that. So I can take the blog and break it into those bite-sized chunks that people want to see on social media because they just want the little snippet about, the 2 or 3 things that I really like for this holiday season, whatever's in style or, things like that. So you can take it and you can break it down and be able to batch some of those things where you can have your post scheduled out a little bit more often so that you're not having to worry about what to post every single day. You can look at things like MSI and engagement hacking to increase your exposure. You can look at different automations like Planoly, or I think there's is it plan later or
plan that, and then there's the later, and then there's preview app. So there's quite a few different ones that you can automate your posting with.
Exactly. So there's tons of those. You can help put those automations in place so you can then batch the content, create the graphics for it. Make sure to grab those graphic templates and everything from the Ivory Mix membership. The same. And then you can go over to Planoly, schedule those things out, have those automations set, so then you are just able to naturally, engage with your audience and pop into your stories here and there. And then later going back and making sure to really check your insights and seeing what's working, what your audience wants to see from you, and then just kind of fine-tuning your business around that. If they want to see more of you, then hey girlfriend, that means you got to show up a little bit more. So, if they're responding to your, pretty pictures and things like that, then post some more of those pictures, find out what's working for you and your business.
I think just to touch on the insights and to tie in what MSI and engagement hacking is just for a second, I won't take too long on it because I know I can go on forever. But when you're looking at your business insights and the things that you want to look for, you're going to be looking for MSI, which is meaningful social interaction. So that means any post that's got meaningful social interaction, you want to do more of those posts. What is meaningful social interaction? Well, it's not likes, which are going away soon. It's not, reach, how many people have viewed it. What it is, meaningful social interaction, is leaving a comment or saving the post or sharing the post, right? Those are things that have meaning behind it and show Instagram that you and your audience have a meaningful relationship. And so when you look at your insights, you want to search through your posts and look for what has gotten website clicks, what has gotten comments, what has gotten saved, and look for the high performers and start repeating those things. So that's what MSI is it's really those meaningful social cues that tells Instagram that, hey, this content and this content creator are making things that really resonates with this list of people. We're going to show this content to those people more often. So the more you can create those kinds of pieces of content, the more you're going to get more engagement. And that's really what engagement hacking is creating things that specifically generates more of that type of engagement.
Yep, and that's where your insights come in. So see, It all comes full circle. So you can see there. So hopefully, this was helpful for you. We know that Instagram is something that we love engaging on. It really is about finding your lane for your business and the type of engagement and stuff that you want to have with your audience and what they're responsive to. And sometimes it is a little bit of a trial and error to start. Everyone's profile started somewhere at some point and it doesn't look the same way it does today. So it's just about getting out there, putting it out there, seeing what works, and then just making sure to fine tune it and listen to what people are actually wanting to see. So So now we're at the end of our workshop. I wanted you guys to just see some of the things that other people are saying about it. It's been awesome just to get the feedback and just to see people posting and tagging us and just, letting us know what they're learning, what they're working on. We created the Creative Boss Method because we wanted to have these series of workshops to give you all of these pieces that are so important to your business and reaching your goals and being able to have a successful year. So when you start 2020, you feel much more confident about everything that you're jumping into and what you're doing. And we want to be here to help you with all of those pieces. So I think we also have something special that we have put together for you this time also.
Yes, there is a complete workbook that's coming with this workshop, so that you can take all of these actionable tips and really develop a blueprint and a plan for you to take action on Instagram. So it's really going to sum up everything that we've talked about and give you a space to plan out what you're going to do on Instagram to grow your account and align your business goals with what you do every day on that platform.
Absolutely. And both of us strive in our own businesses to make sure that you as the business owner are getting to have everything as easy as you possibly can. And I know that with Kayla, she's created the Ivory Mix membership. And that membership, if you haven't purchased it yet, you should definitely make sure that you purchase that bundle, because you'll get access to the membership where she's got different captions and stock photos and templates and things that are being created for you every single month, so that you can go ahead and batch these things ahead of time. You can start putting out more content and stuff that you'd like to see for your own business on your social media. So if you haven't grabbed it already, don't miss out. Don't worry, you didn't. We will make sure that you have a link for that. Take your workbooks, start working on that homework, be a little bit more intentional in your business, and don't forget to tag us so that we can cheer you on at #CreativeBossMethod. And you can also tag us directly. We'd love to share it in the stories and talk to you about what you're doing.
Yep. I can't wait to see what you guys are up to.
So right. Awesome. Well, we will see you guys again very soon. Thank you so much for tuning in today.
All right. Bye.
Bye.